Amara's alarm screamed at 5:30 a.m., the same time it had screamed every morning for the past 5 years. She dragged herself from the worn mattress, her body aching from yesterday's double shift at the diner. In the next room, she heard shuffling. Her triplets were already awake. "Mama." 7-year-old Kai appeared in her doorway, his green eyes bright despite the early hour. "Mia took my backpack again." "Did not," Mia's voice shot back from down the hall. "You left it in the bathroom." "Both of you, quiet," Amara said, pulling on her uniform. "You'll wake Zion." Too late. The third triplet wandered out, rubbing identical green eyes, his dark curls a mess. "I'm hungry." Amara moved through the tiny apartment on autopilot, packing lunches with whatever she could afford, checking homework, braiding Mia's hair while simultaneously helping Kai find his shoes. 3 kids, 3 different personalities, one exhausted mother trying to be enough. "Why don't we have a daddy?" Zion asked suddenly. The question hit Amara like a physical blow. "Because," she said carefully, "sometimes families look different, and we're perfect just the way we are." But the lie tasted bitter. Because somewhere in this city, their father existed. Rich, powerful, and completely unaware his children were alive. The coffee shop was busier than usual. Amara worked the morning shift here after dropping the triplets at school, then rushed to the diner for the afternoon. 2 jobs, barely enough to cover rent and food, no room for extras like new shoes or birthday parties. "Large Americano, no sugar," the barista called out. Amara grabbed the cup and turned directly into a wall of expensive suit. Coffee exploded everywhere, all over pristine white fabric, all over her apron. "I'm so sorry." Amara grabbed napkins frantically. "I didn't see." Clearly. The voice was ice. She looked up into a face she'd spent 5 years trying to forget. Kang Jae-min, older now, harder, more successful if the tailored suit and expensive watch were any indication. But those eyes, sharp, calculating, cold green, were exactly the same. "I'll pay for dry cleaning," Amara stammered, her heart racing. Obviously. He took the napkins from her shaking hands, dabbing at his jacket with visible irritation. His gaze flicked to her name tag. "Amara, you should be more careful." He didn't recognize her. Relief and pain warred in her chest. 8 years ago, she'd been different, younger, hopeful, in love. Now she was just another struggling single mother in a coffee-stained apron. "It won't happen again," she whispered. Jaemin handed back the ruined napkins and walked away without another word. Amara stood frozen, watching him leave. He had no idea. No idea that 3 blocks away, his children were sitting in a public school, learning their ABCs. 2 days later, Amara was picking up the triplets from after-school care when she saw him again. Jaemin stood in the school parking lot beside a sleek black car, clearly waiting for someone. Amara's blood went cold. "Stay close to me," she told the children, gripping Mia's hand tighter. But Kai, always curious, had already noticed the expensive car. "Wow, look at that!" He pulled away from Amara and ran toward it. "Kai, no!" But it was too late. Kai stopped 3 feet from Jaemin, staring up at him with open fascination. "Is this your car? It's so cool." Jaemin looked down, ready to dismiss the child, then froze. For a long moment, he just stared. At Kai's face, at his eyes, at the way he tilted his head with curiosity. "Kai, come here right now," Amara called, her voice sharp with panic. Jaemin's gaze shifted to her. Recognition flickered, then confusion. "You're the coffee shop. Yes, sorry, my son is very friendly. Too friendly." She grabbed Kai's hand. "We need to go." "Wait." Jaemin's voice stopped her. His eyes. Amara's heart stopped. "What about them?" Jaemin shook his head slightly, as if clearing it. "Nothing. He just looks familiar." "Common features," Amara said quickly. "We have to go. Sorry again." She practically dragged the children away, not breathing until they were safely in her beat-up car. Jaemin couldn't sleep. The boy's face haunted him. Those green eyes, the exact shade of his own. The way the child had smiled, slightly crooked on the left side, just like Jaemin's own reflection. Coincidence. It had to be. But the next day, he found himself driving past that school, watching the playground from his car like a stalker. And there they were. Not one child. 3. Triplets. 2 boys and a girl. All with the same distinctive green eyes. All with similar features. All moving with mannerisms that made his skin crawl with recognition. The way one boy pushed his hair back from his forehead. The way the girl wrinkled her nose when concentrating. The way the third child stood with his weight on one leg, hand on hip. Jaemin had seen those exact gestures in the mirror his entire life. "This is insane," he muttered, but he took out his phone and snapped photos anyway. That evening, he studied them obsessively, zoomed in on faces, compared features, did the calculations. The children were 7 years old. 8 years ago, he'd been in America for business. 8 years ago, he'd had a brief, intense relationship with a woman he'd thought meant nothing, a woman whose face he'd mostly forgotten, until 2 days ago when she'd spilled coffee on him. Amara, the mother of these children. Jaemin's hands shook. No, it couldn't be. Could it? Amara knew she was being watched. Call it mother's instinct or paranoia, but she felt Jaemin's eyes on them everywhere. At the grocery store, near the school, even outside the diner. He was investigating. Of course he was. Men like him didn't ignore mysteries, and 3 children with his exact eyes were one hell of a mystery. She'd worked so hard to stay invisible, to keep her children away from his world, the world of wealth and power and people who saw others as possessions. When she discovered her pregnancy 8 years ago, she'd tried to tell him, called his office a dozen times, left messages that were never returned, showed up at his building only to be turned away by security. The message was clear. Kang Jaemin wanted nothing to do with complications, so she'd raised their children alone, worked herself to exhaustion, sacrificed everything to give them a stable, loving home. And now he was circling like a shark who'd scented blood. "Mama, why is that man always around?" Mia asked one afternoon, pointing at Jaemin's car parked across the street. "I don't know, baby." Amara's voice was tight. "But stay away from him, okay? All of you. Promise me." "Why?" Kai asked. "Because I said so. Promise me." 3 reluctant promises. Amara prayed they'd be enough, but deep down she knew the truth was coming, and it would destroy everything. The job offer came through the school. The principal called Amara in, beaming with excitement. "Mrs. Thompson, you've been selected for a very special opportunity. The Kang Foundation is funding a new after-school program, and they specifically requested you as coordinator." Amara's stomach dropped. "I don't understand. I'm not qualified. They were very impressed by your dedication to your children's education. The position comes with a significant salary increase and benefits, full health insurance, college savings accounts for the triplets. Numbers that would change their lives. Numbers Amara couldn't afford to refuse." "Who exactly recommended me?" Amara asked, though she already knew. "Mr. Kang Jaemin himself. He'll be overseeing the program personally." Of course he would. This wasn't generosity. This was strategy. A way to keep them close, to observe, to gather evidence. "I need time to think about it," Amara said. "Of course, but the offer expires in 3 days." Amara left the office feeling trapped, refuse, and they'd continue struggling. Her children deserved better, accept, and she'd be walking straight into Jaemin's web. That night, she stared at the bills piled on her kitchen table. Overdue rent, medical expenses from Zion's asthma, the notice from the electric company. She had no choice. She never had a choice. The next morning, Amara called the principal. "I accept the position." The first day of the new job, Jaemin was waiting. "Miss Thompson, welcome." His voice was professional, but his eyes were hunting, searching. "Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Kang." Amara kept her tone equally professional, her face carefully blank. "I wanted to discuss the program structure with you. Can we talk in my office?" It wasn't a question. Amara followed him into a sleek, modern space that screamed wealth and power. "Please sit." She sat. He remained standing, studying her like a specimen. "I'll be direct. Your children are remarkable, intelligent, well-behaved, clearly well-raised despite your circumstances." Amara's jaw clenched. "Thank you. Their father must be very proud." The statement hung in the air like a blade. "Their father isn't in the picture," Amara said carefully. "Interesting. You raised triplets completely alone? Women do it every day. Not many succeed as well as you have." He leaned against his desk. "Tell me about their father." "There's nothing to tell. He was a mistake I made years ago. We're better off without him." Something flickered in Jaemin's expression. Pain? Anger? Does he know they exist? He made it clear he didn't want complications in his life. I respected that. The silence that followed was heavy. Finally, Jaemin said quietly, "What if he's changed? What if he deserves to know?" Amara stood. "Some men don't deserve second chances, Mr. Kang. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do." Over the following weeks, Jaemin's cold professionalism began to crack. He found excuses to visit the after-school program, to watch the children, to interact with them in small, awkward ways. Kai gravitated to him naturally, asking endless questions about business and cars and rich people stuff. Mia was more cautious, but warmed up when Jaemin helped her with a math problem. Zion, the quietest triplet, simply observed with those piercing green eyes that saw too much. "You look like us," Zion said one afternoon. Jaemin's breath caught. "What?" "Your eyes. They're green like ours. Mama says green eyes are special." "They are special." Jaemin knelt to Zion's level. "Has your mother told you anything about your father?" Zion shook his head. "Just that he couldn't stay. But it's okay. We have Mama. She's enough." The simple statement hit Jaemin like a fist to the chest. Amara watched this exchange from across the room, her heart breaking. Jaemin was changing. The cold businessman was becoming something else, something dangerous, something that looked almost like a father. That night, Jaemin sat alone in his apartment, staring at side-by-side photos. Him at age 7, Kai at age 7. The resemblance was undeniable. He'd been lying to himself. These were his children, and he'd abandoned them without even knowing they existed. The revelation came during a field trip. The children were swimming at a community pool, and Kai pulled off his shirt, revealing his back. Jaemin saw it immediately, a distinctive birthmark between the shoulder blades, port wine stain in the shape of an irregular star, exactly identical to the one Jaemin had carried his entire life, the one his mother used to call his warrior mark. His vision blurred, the pool sounds faded. He stood frozen, staring at proof he could no longer deny. "Mr. Kang, are you all right?" Amara's voice cut through the fog. He turned to her slowly. "When were you going to tell me?" Her face drained of color. "Tell you what?" "Don't." His voice was rough. "Don't insult me with lies. The birthmark. Kai has my birthmark, the same one, in the exact same place." Amara's hands were shaking. "Lots of people have birthmarks. Identical to mine, along with identical eyes, identical mannerisms, identical." He stopped, struggling for control. "They're mine, aren't they? Please, not here, not now." "How long were you planning to keep this from me?" "Forever." The word was sharp, final. "They're mine. You had no right." "I had every right." Amara's voice rose. "You made it clear you didn't want me, didn't want complications. What was I supposed to do? Force myself on you? Force our children on you?" "I deserve to know. You deserved nothing. You got everything you wanted, freedom. I got 3 babies and a choice. Tell the man who rejected me or protect them from that rejection. I chose protection." That night, Jaemin made the call he'd been avoiding. A private investigator. DNA testing. He needed absolute proof before he destroyed what little control he had left. "I need this done quietly," he told the investigator. "No one can know, especially not the mother." "Understood. I'll need samples from you and the children. Hair, saliva, something with clear DNA." "I can get that." Getting the samples was easier than expected. Kai left a water bottle at the program. Mia's hair was on her jacket. Zion's toothbrush sat in the bathroom after an accident. Within 3 days, Jaemin had everything he needed. The investigator promised results in a week. 7 days that felt like 7 years. Jaemin couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on work. His assistant asked if he was ill. His business partners commented on his distraction. He didn't care. Everything hinged on those results. Meanwhile, Amara knew something had shifted. Jaemin looked at her differently now, not with cold professionalism, but with something closer to fury. "Did you do something?" her best friend asked over coffee. "Did what?" "The way that man looks at you, like you stole something from him." Amara's laugh was bitter. "Maybe I did, or maybe he stole something from me 8 years ago, and I'm finally being held accountable for surviving it." The results came on a Tuesday. Jaemin opened the envelope alone in his office, his hands steady despite the emotional earthquake about to hit. 99.99% probability of paternity, 3 times, 1 for each child. They were his. Amara's story began 8 years ago in a different city, a different life. She'd been a graduate student working nights to pay tuition. He'd been a young businessman on an extended work trip. They'd met at a library, talked about books and ambition and dreams. For 3 months, it was perfect, intense, all-consuming. "I'm falling in love with you," she'd told him. "Don't," he'd said. "This can't be permanent. My life is in Korea. My family has expectations. This is just temporary. But temporary had felt like forever until it ended. Until he'd boarded a plane back to Seoul without a backward glance. Until Amara's period was 2 weeks late and panic set in. She'd tried to reach him. God, how she'd tried. But his number was disconnected. His company refused to forward messages. It was like he'd never existed, except for the 3 babies growing inside her. Triplets. The doctor had laughed. You've hit the jackpot, dear. Some jackpot. Amara had dropped out of school, worked through her pregnancy until she couldn't anymore, given birth alone in a charity hospital, raised 3 babies in a studio apartment with nothing but determination and love. She'd never asked for help, never filed for child support, never tried to force him into a life he'd clearly rejected. She'd survived, thrived even, built a life for her children despite impossible odds. And now he was back. Not because he'd sought them out, not because he'd missed her, but because he'd stumbled into them by accident. And that, more than anything, broke her heart all over again. The confrontation happened on a Friday afternoon. Jamin appeared at Amara's apartment without warning, holding the DNA results. We need to talk. No. Amara tried to close the door. He blocked it with his foot. I have proof, legal, documented proof that I'm their father. I don't care. The law cares. I could fight for custody, for rights. For what? Amara's voice broke. For children you didn't want, for a life you rejected. You made your choice 8 years ago. Don't pretend this is about them. This is about your ego. This is about my children. They're not yours. You don't get to be a father just because biology says so. Fathers show up. Fathers sacrifice. Fathers love unconditionally from day one. You're just a sperm donor who stumbled into the truth. The words hit like physical blows. Jamin stepped back, his face pale. I didn't know. Because you didn't want to know. You cut me off completely. Changed your number. Disappeared like I was nothing. Like we were nothing. I was young, stupid, scared of commitment. And I was young and pregnant and terrified. But I didn't run. I stayed. I fought. I loved them even when it was impossibly hard. Amara's tears were falling freely now. So don't you dare stand here with your DNA test and act like you have rights. You have nothing. Jamin looked at her, really looked, and saw the damage he'd caused. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back 8 years. Sorry doesn't erase the nights I cried myself to sleep. Sorry doesn't pay for the bills or the fear or the loneliness. Let me make it right. There is no making this right. There's only moving forward, and I don't know if I can do that with you in our lives. That night, Amara broke down completely. She'd held it together for so long. For 8 years, she'd been strong for her children, never letting them see her weakness. But now, alone in her bedroom, she shattered. Great, heaving sobs that she muffled with a pillow so the triplets wouldn't hear. She'd built a life on the foundation of his absence, told herself she was better off, that they were better off. But seeing him again, seeing him with the children, had ripped open old wounds she'd thought were healed. Because she'd loved him. God, she'd loved him so much. And he'd left without a backward glance. Mama? A soft knock on her door. Mia. I'm okay, baby. Go back to bed. You're crying. I can hear you. The door creaked open. 3 pairs of green eyes stared at her with concern far too adult for their age. Did we do something wrong? Zion asked. No. Amara pulled them all into her arms. You're perfect. You're everything. I'm just overwhelmed. Is it because of Mr. Kang? Kai asked. Amara's breath caught. What makes you say that? He makes you sad. We see it. Mia snuggled closer. We don't need him, Mama. We have you. You're enough. Those words, the same words Zion had said to Jamin, broke her all over again. I love you 3 more than anything in the world. And, you're right, we have each other. That's all we need. But as she held them, Amara wondered if that was true, or if she was depriving her children of something they deserved, a father, because of her own pain. The DNA results destroyed Jamin's carefully constructed world. He'd built his life on control, logic, and emotional distance. These children shattered all 3. He had 3 kids, 3 7-year-olds who existed without his knowledge, who'd grown and laughed and learned and loved without him, who had Amara's strength and resilience because they'd had no choice. The guilt was crushing. How many birthdays had he missed? First words, first steps? How many nights had Amara struggled alone while he'd been living in luxury, completely unaware? He'd always told himself he wasn't father material, that he was too focused on business, too emotionally unavailable, too selfish for children. But looking at Kai's curiosity, Mia's kindness, Zion's quiet wisdom, all traits they'd developed despite his absence, he realized the truth. He wasn't too selfish for children. He'd just been a coward. And now he had a choice: continue being a coward and walk away, or fight for the family he'd accidentally created. The decision should have been simple, but nothing about this was simple. Amara hated him, with good reason. The children didn't need him. They had everything that mattered: love, security, a mother who'd sacrificed everything for them. What could he offer except money, except complications, except the risk of disappointment? But then he remembered Kai's smile, Mia's laugh, Zion's thoughtful questions. They were his blood, his legacy, and he'd be damned if he'd abandon them again. Jamin's rage wasn't directed at Amara. It was directed at himself, at the young, arrogant man he'd been 8 years ago, who'd treated love like a temporary convenience, who'd walked away from a good woman because commitment scared him more than loneliness. He found himself at his parents' estate, seeking the counsel he'd avoided for years. "There's something I need to tell you," he said to his mother. She listened as he explained everything: the relationship, the pregnancy he'd never known about, the children who had his eyes and his birthmark and his mannerisms. When he finished, his mother was quiet for a long moment. "You have 3 children," she finally said. "Yes. And their mother raised them alone while you built your empire." "Yes. Then you have no empire, Jamin. You have nothing, because family is the only wealth that matters, and you abandoned yours." The words cut deep because they were true. "I want to fix this. I want to be their father." "Then stop acting like a businessman negotiating a deal. Stop thinking about rights and custody and legal proof." His mother's eyes were fierce. "Start thinking about what those children need, what that woman needs, what you owe them." "I don't know what they need." "Then ask. Humble yourself, apologize, and prove through actions, not money, not power, but actions, that you've changed." That night, Jamin began writing a letter, not to lawyers, not to investigators, to Amara, pouring out everything he'd never said 8 years ago: the fear, the regret, the love he'd been too cowardly to acknowledge. He didn't know if she'd read it, didn't know if it would matter, but it was a start. The letter arrived on a Saturday morning. Amara recognized his handwriting on the envelope and almost threw it away, but curiosity, or maybe masochism, made her open it. "Amara, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it, but I need you to know that abandoning you was the biggest mistake of my life. Not because of the children I didn't know existed, but because I loved you, genuinely, terrifyingly loved you. And I ran. I ran because my life was planned out, because my family had expectations, because commitment meant vulnerability, and vulnerability meant potential pain. I was a coward. I still am in many ways, but I'm trying to be brave enough to face what I destroyed. I don't want to take the children from you. I don't want custody or rights or legal battles. I just want the chance to know them, to be present in whatever capacity you'll allow. I want to support you, not with money, though I owe you years of financial support, but with presence, with reliability, with the kind of partnership I should have offered 8 years ago. I know I have no right to ask for anything. You've done the impossible alone. But if there's even a small part of you that thinks our children deserve to know their father, not the man who abandoned you, but the man I'm trying to become, please give me a chance. I'll wait as long as it takes. Jamin." Amara read it 3 times, tears streaming down her face, anger and pain and a tiny, treacherous spark of hope warring inside her. The triplets knew something was happening. Children always know when the adults in their lives are struggling. "Mama's sad again," Mia whispered to her brothers one night after Amara had tucked them in. "It's because of Mr. Kang," Kai said. "I heard her crying when she read his letter." "Do you think he's our dad?" Zion asked the question they'd all been wondering. Silence. Then Kai said, "Maybe. We have the same eyes, and Mama gets weird whenever he's around. If he is our dad, why didn't he want us before?" Mia's voice was small. "I don't know, but Mama always says adults are complicated. I like him," Kai admitted. "He's nice, and he knows a lot about science." "I like him too," Zion said, "but I don't want Mama to be sad." They lay awake, processing emotions too big for 7-year-olds. The next day, Kai did something brave and impulsive. He found Jaemin's business card in Amara's purse and called the number. "Mr. Kang, it's Kai." A pause. Then Jaemin's voice shocked. "Kai, are you our dad?" Silence, heavy and long. "Yes," Jaemin finally said, "I am." "Why didn't you want us before?" "I didn't know you existed. If I had known, I would have been there." "Are you going to leave again?" "Never, I promise." "Mama's crying a lot because of you." Kai's voice was accusatory. "I know, I'm trying to fix it." "Then fix it faster. We don't like seeing her sad." And with that, Kai hung up. Jaemin sat in his office, a child's wisdom ringing in his ears. The shift happened gradually. Jaemin didn't push, didn't demand. He simply showed up at school events, at the park on weekends, at the grocery store where Amara shopped. Not stalking, just present, available. Slowly, Amara's walls began to crack. She saw how Kai lit up when explaining a science project to Jaemin, how Mia showed him her artwork with shy pride, how Zion asked him questions about Korea and family and belonging. She saw a man trying, fumbling sometimes, making mistakes, but showing up consistently day after day. "Why are you doing this?" she asked one evening after he'd helped Zion with homework. "Because they're my children, and because I'm 8 years late but refusing to be any later. They'll get attached. If you leave again." "I won't leave again. I know you don't believe me. I wouldn't believe me either. But I'm not asking you to trust words. I'm asking you to watch my actions." And she did. She watched him learn their favorite foods, their bedtimes, their fears and dreams. She watched him be gentle with Mia when she was overwhelmed, patient with Kai's endless questions, thoughtful with Zion's quiet observations. She watched him become a father, not perfect, but present. And slowly her protective instinct began to shift. Maybe the children did deserve to know him. Maybe she was letting her pain deny them something valuable. Maybe, just maybe, people could change. The public revelation happened at the school's annual fundraiser. Amara was coordinating, stressed and exhausted, when Kai ran up to her. "Mama, Mr. Kang is here, and he brought his whole family." Amara's stomach dropped. His family? Jaemin approached with an older Korean couple, his parents clearly. "Amara, I'd like you to meet my mother and father. I told them everything. They insisted on coming." His mother stepped forward, her eyes glistening with tears. "We have 3 grandchildren we knew nothing about. We have a daughter-in-law our son was too foolish to fight for." She took Amara's hands. "I cannot undo his mistakes, but I can promise you, our family will never abandon yours again." The words were spoken loudly enough for nearby parents to hear. Whispers started immediately. "Daughter-in-law? Those are his children? The triplets?" Amara felt exposed, vulnerable. But then Mia grabbed her hand. Kai stood on her other side. Zion pressed against her back. Her children, solid and real in hers. Jaemin's father spoke next. "My son has spent 8 years building a business empire. It means nothing compared to the family he's built here, even unknowingly." He looked at the triplets. "You 3 are the true legacy, and we are honored to know you." By the end of the event, everyone knew. The triplets were Kang Jaemin's children. The truth was out, and there was no going back. 6 months later, life had transformed in ways Amara never imagined. The children split time between her apartment and Jaemin's penthouse. Not custody battles, just co-parenting built on respect and slowly rebuilding trust. Jaemin's family embraced the triplets completely. His mother taught them Korean. His father told them stories of their heritage. Extended family welcomed them with love that erased years of absence. Amara had quit her second job, not because Jaemin demanded it, but because he'd offered support that allowed her to breathe for the first time in years. She was back in school, finishing her degree, building a future beyond just survival. And between her and Jaemin, it was complicated. Not romance, not yet, maybe never, but friendship, partnership, mutual respect. "Do you think you'll ever forgive me?" he asked one night after putting the children to bed in his apartment. Amara considered carefully. "I don't know. Some hurts are too deep to fully heal, but I'm learning that forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing to move forward despite the pain. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of that choice." She looked at him, this man who'd broken her heart, who'd given her 3 incredible children, who was learning to be the father they deserved. Then keep trying. That's all any of us can do. In the next room, 3 children slept peacefully. secure, loved, knowing they had two parents who, despite everything, would fight to give them the world. The family was fractured, imperfect, built from broken pieces, but somehow, together, they were whole.